you little devil, or I'll cut your throat.
Oh, don't cut my throat, sir! Pray, don't do it!
Right, now, tell us your name.
My father's family name being Preater, and my Christian name Philip, my infant tongue could make of both names nothing longer or more explicit than Pip. So I called myself Pip, and came to be called Pip, sir.
Once more, give it mouth.
My name is Pip. Pip, sir.
Right. Show us where you live. Find out the place.
Ours was marsh country, down by the river, within, as the river wound, 20 miles of the sea.
Right, turn out your pockets.
Cheeks you've got, eh?
I believe they were fat, though I was at this time undersized for my years and not strong.
Right, look here. Where's your mother?
There, sir. There, sir. Also, Georgiana. That's my mother.
Is that your father along with your mother?
Yes, sir. Him too. Late of this parish.
So who do you live with then? Supposing you're kindly let to live, which I ain't made up my mind about.
My sister, sir. Mrs. Joe Gargery, wife of Joe Gargery the blacksmith, sir.
Blacksmith, eh? Right. Do you know what a file is?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what whittles is?
Yes, sir.
You get me a file, and you get me whittles, and you bring both of them here to me tomorrow morning, and you never dare say a word, nor never dare make a sign concerning having seen such a person as me, and you might be let to live. If you fail, your heart and your liver will be torn out, roasted and ate. Now I ain't alone, like you might think I am. There's a young man in here with me, and in comparison with me, that young man is a devil. Now, that young man hears the words that I speak, and that young man has a way peculiar to himself of getting at a boy, and getting at his heart, and getting at his liver. It is vain for a boy to attempt to hide from that young man. For that young man will softly creep and creep and tear out his insides. Now, it's very hard for me to keep that young man away from you. Very difficult for me to keep that young man off of your insides. Now, what do you say?
What would you say?
Lord, strike you dead if you don't.
My sister, Mrs. Joe Gargery, was more than 20 years older than I, and had established a great reputation with herself and the neighbours because she had brought me up by hand. Knowing her to have a hard and heavy hand, and to be much in the habit of laying it upon her husband as well as upon me, I supposed that Joe Gargery and I were both brought up by hand.
Mrs. Joe has been out a dozen times looking for you, Pip. And what's worse, she's got Tickler with her. She sat down, she got up, she made a grab at Tickler, and she rampaged out, Pip. She rampaged out.
Has she been done long jump?
Right.
That's it.
Quick, she's a-coming. Get behind the door, old chap, and have the jacktail betwixt you.
Where have you been, you young monkey?
Well, you've only been to the churchyard.
You may well say churchyard, you two.
One of us, by the way, had not said it at all.
You'll drive me to the churchyard betwixt you one of these days. Oh, what a precious pair you'd be without me.
My sister had a trenchant way of cutting bread and butter for us that never varied. On this present occasion, though I was hungry, I dared not eat my slice. I felt I must have something in reserve for my dreadful acquaintance and his ally, the still more dreadful young man. I resolved to put my hunk of bread down the leg of my trousers.
It was our evening habit as fellow sufferers to compare the way we bit through our slices.
And several times Joe invited me by the display of his fast diminishing slice to enter upon our usual friendly competition.
Pip, you'll do yourself a mischief. It'll stick somewhere. You can't achard it, Pip.
What's the matter now? Come on out with it, you staring great stuck pig.
Pip, I'd be the last to tell upon you any time, but such an uncommon bolt as that.
Oh, been bolting his food, has he? There's only one thing for it.
Tar water! Hark! Was that great guns, Joe?
Ah, there's another convict off.
What does that mean, Joe?
Escaped, escaped.
What's a convict?
There was a convict off last night, and now it appears they are firing warning of another.
Who's firing?
From the hulks.
And please, what's hulks?
Oh, answering one question, he'll ask you a dozen directly. Hulks is prison ships right across the meshes.
I wonder who's put into prison ships and why they're put there.
People are put into them because they do murder and because they rob and forge and do all sorts of bad. And they always begin by asking too many questions. Now, go to bed.
If I slept at all that night, it was only to imagine myself drifting down the river on a strong spring tide to the hulks, a ghostly pirate calling out to me through a speaking trumpet.
Come ashore, boy. Come ashore and be hanged.
As soon as the great black velvet pall outside my little window was shot with grey, I got up and went downstairs, every board upon the way and every crack in every board calling after me.
Stop thief!
Wake up, Mrs. Joe! I stole some bread, some rind of cheese, about half a jar of mincemeat, some brandy, a meat bone with very little on it, and a beautiful, round, compact pork pie. The mist was heavy when I got out upon the marshes, so that instead of my running at everything, everything seemed to run at me. The gates and dikes and banks came bursting at me.
And why would somebody else's pork pie stop him?
The cattle came upon me with like suddenness, staring out of their eyes and steaming out of their nostrils.
Hello, young thief.
I couldn't help it, sir. It wasn't for myself, I took it.
Right. What's in the bottle, boy?
Brandy, sir.
Right, you ain't a deceiving him. You ain't brought no one with you.
No, sir. No. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Thank you, boy. I do enjoy it.
I'm afraid you won't leave any of it for him.
Him? Who's him?
The young man that you spoke of that was hid with you.
Him. He don't want no riddles.
I thought he looked as if he did.
Looked? When? Where?
Here, where I found him nodding asleep and thought it was you. He had a badly bruised face.
Show me which way you went. I'll hunt him down like a blood out. Ah! Ah! Curse these irons on my saw ribs! Give me that file, boy!
The last I saw of him, his head was bent over his knee, and he was working hard at his fetter, muttering impatient imprecations at it and his leg. The last I heard of him, I stopped in the mist to listen, and that file was still going.
Where the deuce have you been?
Down to the carols.
Well,
It was Christmas Day, and my sister, having so much to do, was going to church vicariously. That is to say, Joe and I were going.
In his work clothes, Joe was a well-knit, characteristic-looking blacksmith. In his holiday clothes, he was more like a scarecrow under good circumstances. Nothing he wore then fitted him or seemed to belong to him.
As for me, I was always treated as if I had insisted upon being born, against the dictates of reason and religion and morality. When I was taken to have a new suit of clothes, the tailor had orders to make them like a kind of reformatory, and on no account to let me have the free use of my limbs. Upon our return from church,
Merry Christmas!
Uncle Pumblechook.
I bring you season's greetings, Mum.
Ah.
I also bring Mum a bottle of port wine, Mum, and a bottle of sherry wine, Mum.
Oh, Uncle Pumblechook, this is kind.
May we all be truly grateful.
Do you hear that? Be grateful.
Especially grateful to them which brought us up by hand. Why is it? The young are never grateful.
Naturally vicious.
Why, we have set before us, Mum, a pig. The gluttony of the swine is set before us as an example to the young.
You listen to this.
Now, what is detestable in a pig is even more detestable in a boy. Why, if you'd been born a squeaker.
Who he was, if ever a child was.
But I mean a four-footed squeaker, Mum. What would have been your destiny then? Would you be here now amongst your elders and betters, listening to the art of their conversation, living in the lap of luxury? No. What would have been your destiny? Well, you would have been disposed of for so many shillings according to the market price of the article, and Dunstable, the butcher, would have come up to you as you lay in your straw, and he would have whipped you under his left arm, and with his right lifted his frock and taken from his waistcoat a knife and let your blood and had your life. No bringing up by hand then. Oh, but it's been a world of trouble to you.
Oh, he has, Uncle. But to finish, we must have a taste of a delightful and delicious present of Uncle Pumblechook's. It's a pie, a savoury pork pie.
We shall give it our best endeavours, or let us have a cut of this same pie, Mum.
Here you are! Look sharp! Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I am on a chase for convicts in the name of the king, and I want the blacksmith.
And what do you want with him?
Mrs. Speaking for myself, I should reply the honour and pleasure of his fine wife's acquaintance. Speaking for the king, I answer a little job done. We have had an accident with these irons, and I find the lock of them goes wrong. As they are wanted for immediate service, will you throw your eye over them? How far might you call yourselves from the marshes hereabouts?
Well, just a mile.
That'll do. We begin to close in upon them about dusk.
Convicts, Sergeant.
Aye, they're pretty well known to be out of the marshes still. Anybody here seen anything of such game?
No.
Now, blacksmith, if you're ready, His Majesty the King is.
I do have one other question, sir.
I hope Joey shan't find him.
I'd give a shilling if they had cut and run pit.
we struck out upon the open marshes. The soldiers were moving on in the direction of the old battery, and we were a little way behind them, when all of a sudden we all stopped. For there had reached us, on the wings of the wind and rain, a long shout.
Murder!
Nay, there seemed to be two or more shouts raised together.
Convicts!
Run away!
Guard, this way for the runaway convicts!
Down banks and up banks and over gates and splashing into dikes, no man cared where he went.
Surrender, you two, and confound you for two wild beasts! Come asunder!
I took him, and I'll give him up to you.
He tried to murder me!
Murder him, so not to murder him. I took him and I'll give him up to you. I've done that.
He tried to murder me!
He lies. Ain't it written there? Let him set those eyes of his upon me. I defy him to do it. You see what a villain he is? That's how he was when we were tried together. He never looked
much to look at.
Oh,
Didn't I tell you he'd try to murder me if he could?
I wish to say something concerning this escape. It may prevent some person lying under suspicion no longer me. I took some whittles from the village over yonder.
You mean you stole?
There were some broken whittles, a dram of liquor and a pie from the blacksmith.
You happened to miss such an article as a pie?
And of course we had, at the very moment the soldiers came in.
God knows he was welcome to it. As far as it was ever mine, we didn't know what he had done, but we wouldn't have let him starve to death for it. Poor miserable fellow creature. What has Pip? Why, Pip? What a scholar you are, aren't you?
As you'd like to be.
Why? Here's a J, and here's an O, and here's a J-O. Joe!
But read the rest, Joe.
The rest, eh, Pip? 1, 2, 3. Well, here's 3 J's, and here's 3 O's, and here's 3 J-O Joes in it, Pip. Astonishing! You are a scholar.
How do you spell Gargery, Joe?
I don't spell it at all.
Now, if this boy ain't grateful this night, he never will be.
I looked as grateful as any little boy possibly could.
Miss Aversham.
Miss Havisham uptown?
Is there any Miss Aversham downtown? Miss Aversham wants this boy to go and play there. And of course he's going. And he'd better play there or I'll work him.
I wonder how she came to know Pip.
Who said she knew him? Couldn't she have asked, say, one of her tenants, say Uncle Pumblechook, if he knew of any boy to go play there? Couldn't Uncle Pumblechook always been so kind and thoughtful for us? Then mention this boy standing prancing here I've ever been a willing slave to. Oh, this boy's fortune may be made by his going to Miss Avisham's.
Goodbye, Joe.
Good luck, Pip. Old chap.
Miss Havisham's house was of old brick and dismal, and had a great many iron bars to it. Some of the windows had been walled up. Of those that remained, all the lower were rustily barred. There was a courtyard in front, and that was barred. So we had to wait, after ringing the bell, until someone should come to open it.
This is Pip.
This is Pip, is it? Come in, Pip.
Oh, go on, then.
Oh, did you wish to see Miss Havisham?
If Miss Havisham wished to see me,
Ah, but you see, she don't.
let your behaviour here, boy, do credit unto them which brought you up by hand.
This way, boy.
The cold wind seemed to blow colder in the courtyard than outside the gate.
And don't loiter, boy.
We went into the house through a side door, and the first thing I noticed was that the passages were all dark. We went through more passages, and up a staircase, and still it was all dark, and only the candle lighted us.
Go in.
After you, miss.
Don't be ridiculous, boy. I'm not going in.
Come in.
I found myself in a pretty large room, well lighted with wax candles. No glimpse of daylight was to be seen in it. It was a dressing room, and in an armchair sat the strangest lady I have ever seen, or shall ever see. She was dressed in rich materials, satins and lace and silks, all of white. Her shoes were white, and she wore a long white veil and had bridal flowers in her hair. But her hair was white. I saw that everything within my view which ought to be white had lost its lustre and was faded and yellow. I saw that the bride, within the bridal dress, had withered like the dress. I saw that the dress had been put on the rounded figure of a young woman, and that the figure on which it now hung loose had shrunk to skin and bone. I should have cried out if I could.
Who is it?
Pip, Mum.
Pip.
Mr. Pumblechook's boy, Mum. Come to play.
Come nearer. Let me look at you. Come close. You're not afraid of a woman who's never seen the sun since you were born?
No?
Do you know what I touch here?
Yes, Mum.
What do I touch?
Your heart.
Broken! I'm tired. I want diversion. Play. Call Estella.
Estella!
Let me see you play cards with this boy.
With this boy? But he is a common labouring boy.
Well, you can break his heart.
King.
Ace.
Jack.
He calls the names Jack, this boy. And what coarse hands he has. And what thick boots.
She says many hard things of you, but you say nothing of her. What do you think of her?
We think she is very proud.
Anything else?
We think she is very pretty.
Anything else?
We think she is very insulting.
Anything else?
I think I should like to go home.
Well, boy, how did you get on uptown today?
Pretty well, sir, pretty well.
Pretty well?
Pretty well's no answer. Tell us what you mean by pretty well, boy.
I mean, pretty well.
Oh, Uncle!
Leave this to me, Mum. Leave this to me. What like is Miss Havisham?
Very tall and dark.
Good. This is the way to have him, Mum. This is the way to have him. I think we're holding our own.
I wish you always had him, Uncle.
What was she a doing of when you went up there today?
She was sitting in a black velvet coach. And Mrs. Stella, that's her niece, I think, handed her in cake and wine in the coach window with a gold plate. And we all had cake and wine on gold plates. And there were 4 dogs.
Large or small?
Immense. And they fought for veal cutlets out of a silver basket. Oh, and we played with flags.
Flags?
Yes. Estella waved the blue flag, and I waved the red one. And then we all waved our swords and hurrahed.
Where did you get the swords from?
Out of a cupboard. And I saw pistols in it, and jam, and pills. And there was was no daylight in the room, but it was all lighted up with candles.
That much is true, Mum. I've seen it myself.
And true, Joe.
What are you telling of, Pip?
It's lies, Joe.
Yeah, but not all of it, eh? But at least there were dogs.
No, Joe.
A dog? A puppy? Oh, Pip, old chap. I say, old fellow, where do you expect to go to?
It's terrible, Joe, isn't it?
Terrible? Awful. What possessed you?
I am ignorant. I'm backward, Joe. And she called me common.
Why? See what letter you wrote last night. I've seen letters, eh? And from gentlefolk that'll swear weren't written in print. And you'll have to be a common scholar before you can be an uncommon one, I should know.
You are not angry with me, Joe?
No, old chap. Now looky here. And what is said to you by a true friend, which this to you, the true friend, say, if you can't get to go uncommon through going straight, then you'll never get to do it through going crooked. So don't tell no more on 'em, Pip. And live well. Die happy.
Well,
Well, miss,
am I pretty?
I think you were very pretty.
Am I insulting?
Not so much as you were last time.
Not so much so. No? There, you little coarse monster. What do you think of me now, then?
I shall not tell you.
Oh, so because you're going to tell Miss Havisham, is that it?
No, that's not it.
Let me see you two play cards.
Miss Havisham watched us all the time, directed my attention to Estella's beauty, and made me notice it the more by trying her jewels on Estella's breast and hair.
You must break his heart.
Oh, hello, young fellow.
Hello,
Who let you in?
Mrs. Stella.
Come and fight. Actually, first I need to give you a reason to fight. Ow! That means that you've won.
Can I help you?
No, thank ye.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you too, sir. You can kiss me if you like.
As she grow prettier and prettier, break their hearts. My pride and hope, break their hearts and have no mercy.
What could I become with these surroundings? How could my character fail to be influenced by them? Is it to be wondered at that my thoughts were dazed, as my eyes were, when I came out into the natural light from those misty yellow rooms?
Tell me the name again of that blacksmith of yours.
Joe Gargery. Well,
Meaning the master you're to be apprenticed to?
yes, ma'am.
You'd better be apprenticed at once. Would Gargery come here with you and bring your indentures, do you think? Then let him come.
It was a trial to my feelings on the next day but one to see Joe arraying himself in his Sunday clothes to accompany me to Miss Havisham's.
So you are the husband of the sister of this boy? You are the husband of the sister of this boy?
Pip, as I mean to say, when I up and married your sister, I was at the time what you might call, if you was anyway inclined, a single man.
Have you brought his indentures with you?
Pip, you know, you yourself saw me put them in my hat, and you know as they are here.
You expected no premium with the boy?
Joe, why don't you answer?
Pip, as I mean to say, that were a question not requiring an answer betwixt yourself and me, and which you know the answer to be full well no. You know it to be no, Pip, so wherefore should I say it?
Pip has earned a premium here, and here it is. There are 5 and 20 guineas in this bag. Pip, give it to your master.
And now, Pip, we must do our duty, both on us, one unto the other, and for the present liberal who ha conveyed to be for the satisfaction of mind, and from myself, far be it.
Goodbye, Pip. Let them out of Stella.
Am I to come again, Miss Havisham?
No. Gargery is your master now.
Well, how much did you get?
What would present company say to £10?
£10 on 10 pounds.
Let's say pretty well, not too much, but pretty well.
Pretty well, not much, but pretty well.
It's more than that then.
Oh, it's more than that, Mum, it's more than
Well,
that.
you don't mean to say.
I do say, go on, Joseph. Good in you, go on.
What would present company say to £20?
£20, £20, Mum, 20.
20?
£20.
Handsome was the word.
Very handsome.
It's more than £20.
Oh, Joseph,
No.
follow her up.
To put an end to it, it's £5 and £20.
£5 and £20, Mum, £5 and £20, and no more than your merit, as I would have said if my opinion had been asked. Oh, and I wish you joy of the money.
Oh, Uncle.
It is a most miserable thing to feel ashamed of home. How much of my ungracious condition of mind may have been my own fault, how much Miss Havisham's, how much my sister's, is now of no moment to me or to anyone. The change was made in me. The thing was done.
Ever the best of friends, eh, Pip?
But I am glad to say I never breathed a murmur to Joe while my indentures lasted. It is about the only thing I am glad to know of myself in that connection.
What larks, eh, Pip? Old chap.
What I dreaded most was that in some unlucky hour, I, being at my grimiest and commonest, should lift up my eyes and see Estelle looking in at one of the wooden windows of the forge.
What thick boots you have, and coarse hands, such a common labouring boy.
Often after dark, when we went into supper, the place and the meal would have a more homely look than ever, and I would feel more ashamed of home than ever, in my own ungracious breast. Joe, as we are rather slack just now, if you would give me a half holiday tomorrow, I think I would go uptown and make a call on Mrs. Havisham.
Which her name ain't Miss Estaversham, Pip, unless she had been rechristened.
I know, Joe, I know, it was a slip of mine. What do you think on it, Joe?
I hope you want nothing, you'll get nothing.
No, indeed, Miss Havisham, I only wanted you to know that I am doing very well in my apprenticeship, and am always much obliged to you.
You're looking round for Stella, eh? Abroad, educated for a lady, far out of reach, prettier than ever, admired by all who see her. Do you feel that you have lost her?
There's trouble up at your place, Pip! Run! Run all! Your house was broken into while Joseph Gargery was out, supposed by convicts. Your sister's been attacked and hurt.
She'd been hit with something blunt and heavy across the head and the spine. After the blows were dealt, something had been thrown at her with great violence, and beside her lay a convict's leg iron which had been filed asunder.
I believed the iron to be my convict's iron. But my mind did not accuse him of having put it to its latest use. I believed some other person to have become possessed of it, and to have turned it to this cruel account. It may have been about a month after this, when Biddy came to us, with a small speckled box containing the whole of her worldly effects, and became a blessing to our household. Above all, she became a blessing to Joe, for the dear old fellow was sadly cut up by the constant contemplation of the wreck of his wife.
Such a fine figure of a woman as she once were, Pip.
Imperceptibly, as time passed on, I began to grow more conscious of Biddy. Her shoes came up at the heel. Her hair grew bright and neat. Her hands were always clean. She was not beautiful. She was common. She could never be like Stella. But she was pleasant and wholesome and sweet-tempered. Biddy, I want to be a gentleman.
You know best, Pip. But don't you think you're happier as you are?
Biddy, I am not at all happy as I am. I am disgusted with my calling and with my life. I have never taken to either since I was bound.
That's a pity.
If I could have settled down and been but half as fond of the forge as I was when I was little, I know it would have been much better for me. And I might even have grown up to keep company with you, Biddy. And we might have sat on this very bank on a fine Sunday, quite different people. I should have been good enough for you, Biddy, shouldn't I?
Yes, I'm not over particular.
What would it signify to me being coarse and common if nobody had told me so?
It's neither a very true nor polite thing to say. Well, who said it?
The beautiful young lady at Miss Havisham's, Estella. And it is on her account that I want to be a gentleman.
Do you want to be a gentleman to spite her or to gain her over? Because if it is to spite her, I should think, but you know best, that it might be better and more independently done by caring nothing for her words. And if it is to gain her over, then I should think, but you know best, she was not worth gaining over.
Biddy, I shall always tell you everything.
Till you're a gentleman.
Well, you know I never shall be, so that's always. If I could only get myself to fall in love with you. You don't mind my speaking so openly to such an old acquaintance.
Dear, no, not at all. Don't mind me.
If I could only get myself to do it, that would be the thing for me.
But you never will, you see. There's a gentleman here to see you.
The name's Jaggers. I'm a lawyer from London, pretty well known. I have reason to believe there is a blacksmith's apprentice here, commonly known as Pip.
I am here, sir.
Now, I am the bearer of an offer to relieve you of your apprenticeship. I understand that your master would not object to cancel your indentures at your request and for your own good, and that he would want nothing for so doing. Now, the communication I have got to make is this, that you have great expectations. I am instructed to communicate to you that you will come into a handsome property. Further, that it is the desire of the present possessor of that property that you be relieved from your present sphere of life, and from this place, and be brought up as a gentleman, In a word, a young fellow of great expectations. Do you read?
Yes, sir.
Here is a letter containing your instructions. I look forward to seeing you in London shortly. Good day.
My heart was beating so fast, and there was such a singing in my ears. My dream was out. My wild fancy had been surpassed by sober reality. Miss Havisham was going to make my fortune.
Pip, you're a gentleman of good fortune. God bless you.
Well, Pip,
I start for London, Miss Havisham. Tomorrow. And I thought you would kindly not mind my taking leave of you. I have come into such good fortune since I saw you last, Miss Havisham. And I am so grateful for it, Miss Havisham.
yes, I've seen Mr. Jaggers. I know all about it, Pip. So you're a promising career ahead of you. Be good. Deserve it. And always abide by Mr. Jaggers' instructions. Goodbye, Pip.
My dear young friend, may I call you my dear young friend?
Certainly, sir.
May I just say, on behalf of the village, may I just say, what we feel in the village is that you have become an icon. May I just say, bless you, never. I'll leave you there.
Goodbye, Biddy. Goodbye, Joe.
Good luck, Pip. Old chap. Hurrah!
Goodbye. Oh, my dear, dear friend.
London!
We Britons had at that time particularly settled it that it was treasonable to doubt our having and our being the best of everything. Otherwise, while I was scared by the immensity of London, I think I might have had some faint doubt whether it was not rather ugly, narrow, crooked, and dirty.
Suppose!
Thank you, sir. Is Mr. Jaggers at home, sir?
He'll be with you shortly. He's with certain of his clients at present. Am I addressing Mr. Pip?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jaggers left word for you to wait in here, sir.
Now, I don't want to hear from you. I want to know no more than I know. As for the result, it's a toss-up. Now, have you paid Warwick?
Yeah.
Very well, then you may go.
Well, I thought that
That's what I told you not to do. I think for you. Now you, Amelia, is it?
Yes, Mr. Jaggers.
If you don't know that your bill is in good hands, I know it. Have you paid Warwick?
Oh, yes, sir, every farden.
Very well, then you have done all that you have got to do. You may go. Ah, Mike, your man comes on this afternoon. Tell me, what has he got to swear?
well, Mr. Jaggers, pretty much to anything.
You infernal scoundrel. How dare you tell me that? Now, I ask you again, and for the last time, what the man you have brought here is prepared to swear.
To having been in the accused's company most of the night long, and in the pub when they were having to
In what station of life is this man?
Well, we've dressed him up as a sort of pastry chef.
We'll take him past that window and let me see him. Tell him to take his witness away directly, and ask him what he means by bringing such a fellow as that. Ah, Pip! Now, you are to go to Barnard's Inn, to a young Mr. Pocket's room, where a bed has been brought in for your accommodation. Your allowance is to be a very liberal one, the details of which you will find here, along with a list of tradesmen who you shall deal with, and for whom you will find your credit good. So, good luck. I'm sure you will go wrong somewhere, but that will be no fault of mine. Good day.
I found Barnard's Inn to to be the dingiest collection of shabby buildings ever squeezed together in a rank corner as a club for tomcats. I ascended a staircase, which appeared to me to be slowly collapsing into sawdust, so that one of those days the upper lodgers would look out of their doors and find themselves without the means of coming down, to a set of chambers on the top floor. Mr. Pocket, Jr. was painted on the door.
Mr. Pip?
Mr. Pocket?
Oh, pray, come in and allow me to lead the way here. I'm rather bare here, but I hope you'll be able to make it out tolerably well. This is the sitting room, just such chairs and tables and carpet and so forth. You see, as they couldn't spare from home, this round here is my little bedroom here. Yes, it's a bit musty, but well, it is musty. Sorry, yeah, a bit tight, yeah. This here is your bedroom. I trust that the furniture will answer the purpose. If you should want anything, I'll go and fetch it. Oh, do pardon me here. Let me take these bags from you. I'm quite ashamed. Lord bless me, you're the prowling blacksmith's boy.
What?
Yeah.
And you were the pale young gentleman. The idea of this being you!
Well, will you do me a favour to begin at once by calling me by my Christian name, Herbert?
Oh, thank you, but of course. And in exchange, will you do me the favour of calling me Philip? Philip.
Philip? No, I don't take to Philip, for it sounds like a moral boy out of the spelling book who was so lazy that he fell into a pond, or so determined to go bird's nesting that he got himself eaten by bears who lived handy in the neighbourhood. I tell you what I should like. We are so harmonious, and you have been a blacksmith. Would you mind Handel for a familiar name? There's a charming piece of music by Handel, called the Harmonious Blacksmith.
I should like it very much.
Then, my dear Handel, let us have dinner.
I further mentioned that as I had been brought up a blacksmith in a country place, and knew very little of the ways of politeness, I should take it as a great kindness in him if he would give me a hint whenever he saw me at a loss or going wrong.
With pleasure. Let me introduce the topic, Handel, by mentioning that in London, it is not the custom to put the knife in the mouth for fear of accidents, and that while the fork is reserved for that use, it is not put further in than necessary.
I also asked him in the course of conversation what he was. He replied,
A capitalist, an insurer of ships.
And the profits are large?
Oh, tremendous. I think I shall train also.
You will want a good many ships.
A perfect fleet.
Where do the ships that you insure mostly trade at present?
I haven't begun insuring yet. I'm looking about me.
Looking about you?
Yes, I'm looking about me. At present, I'm in a counting house.
And is a counting house profitable?
To, do you mean to the young fellow who's in it?
Yes, to you.
Why, no, not to me, not directly profitable, but that is, it doesn't pay me anything, and I have to keep myself. But the thing is that you look about you. That's the grand thing. You are in the counting house, and when you see your opening, you go in and you swoop upon it and you make your capital, and there you are. Once you've made your capital, you have nothing to do but employ it.
Having already made his fortune in his own mind, he was so unassuming with it that I felt quite grateful to him for not being puffed up. It was a pleasant addition to his naturally pleasant ways, and we got on famously. I also asked him to tell me what he knew about Miss Havisham.
Miss Havisham, well, you must know she was a spoilt child. Her mother died when she was a baby, and her father denied her nothing.
Havisham was an only child?
No, she had a half-brother. Take another glass of wine, and excuse my mentioning that society as a body does not expect one to be so strictly conscientious in emptying one's glass as to turn it bottom upwards with the rim on one's nose. When her father died, Miss Havisham became a wealthy heiress. there appeared upon the scene a certain man who made love to Miss Havisham. He was a showy man, and the kind of man for the purpose. Well, this man pursued Miss Havisham closely and professed to be devoted to her. She passionately loved him, and there is no doubt that she perfectly idolised him. He got great sums of money from her, the marriage day was fixed, the wedding dresses were bought, the wedding tour was planned out, the wedding guests were invited. The day came, but not the bridegroom. He wrote her a letter.
Which she received when she was dressing for her marriage at 20 minutes to 9.
At the hour and minute at which she afterwards stopped all the clocks. She laid the whole place waste, as you have seen it, and she has never since looked upon the light of day. It has been supposed that the man to whom she gave her misplaced confidence acted throughout in concert with her half-brother, that it was a conspiracy between them, and that they shared the profits.
Mrs. Stella is not related to Miss Havisham, is she, but adopted?
There's always been...
When adopted?
There's always been an Estella since I have heard of Miss Havisham. Now, Pamela, all that I know about Miss Havisham, you know.
Well, how much do you want? £50?
Oh, not nearly so much.
£5?
More than that.
More than that, eh? How much more?
It's so difficult to fix a sum.
Come, let's get at it. Twice 5, will that do? 3 times 5, will that do? 4 times 5, will that do? 4 times 5 will do handsomely, will it? And tell me, young fellow, what do you make of 4 times 5?
I suppose you make it £20.
Never mind what I make of it, young fellow. I want to know what you make of it.
£20, of course.
Warwick, take Pip's written order and pay him £20.
Always seemed to me as if he'd set a man trap and was watching it, and suddenly you're caught.
I suppose he's very skillful.
Deep as Australia. If there was anything deeper, he'd be it. If you had nothing better to do, you could come and visit me at Warwick. I could offer you a bed for the night, and I should consider it an honour, sir.
I should be delighted. But as we were taking our departure...
Would you like to devote 5 minutes to watching Mr. Jaggers at it?
For several reasons, not least because I clearly didn't know what Mr. Jaggers was to be found at. I replied in the affirmative. We dived into the city and came up in a crowded police court. My guardian had a woman under examination, or cross-examination, I didn't know which, and was striking her and the bench and everybody present with awe. If anybody of whatsoever degree said a word he didn't approve of,
Take that down.
if anybody would make an admission,
I'll have it out of you.
and when anybody made an admission,
Now I've got you.
Mr. Warwick's house was a little wooden cottage in the midst of plots of garden, yet the top of it was cut out and painted like a battery and mounted with guns.
Pretty, ain't it? All my own doing. You see that? That's a real flagstaff. And on Sundays, I run up a real flag. Look at this. I cross the bridge. I hoist it up so. And cut off communication.
The bridge was a plank, and it crossed a chasm of about 4 foot wide and 2 deep.
At 9 o'clock every night, Greenwich time, the gun fires. There he is, you see. And when you hear him go, I think you'll say he's a stinger. You wouldn't mind being at once introduced to the aged, would you? Wouldn't pull you out. Well, aged parent, how are you?
All right, John.
This is Mr. Pip, aged parent, and I wish you could hear his name. Not a waiting, Mr. Pip, that's what he likes. Not a waiting, if you please, I winking.
All my son's own work, sir.
All of it.
Done by hand.
Curses, like a fool.
We spent a pleasant evening with Mr. Warwick, devoted to showing me his collection of curiosities. He was up early next morning, and I'm afraid to say, I heard him cleaning my boots.
8 o'clock in the morning, we set off the Little Britain.
By degrees, Mr. Warwick, got drier and harder as we went along. And when at last we came to his place of business, he seemed as unconscious of the castle and the drawbridge and the aged as if they had all been blown into space together by the stinger.
My dear Mr. Pip, I write this by request of Mr. Gargery, for to let you know that he is going to London and would be glad if agreeable to be allowed to see you. Your poor sister is much the same as when you left. We talk of you in the kitchen every night and wonder what you're saying and doing. No more, dear Pip, from your ever obliged and affectionate servant, Biddy. Oh, and P.S. He wishes me most particular to write, what larks.
Joe. I'm glad to see you, Joe.
Pip! How air you, Pip?
Come in. Give me your hat.
Pip! You have that growed, and that swelled, and that gentlefolked. To be sure, you are an honour to your king and country.
And you, Joe, look wonderfully well.
Thank God I am equable to most. Your sister, she no worse than she were. Oh, and Biddy, she's ever right and ready. And old friends is no backing her if not no formed her. Oh, your servant, sir. Well, I hope that you and Pip get... As I mean to say, I hope that you two gentlemen get your elves in this close spot. I wouldn't keep a pig in it myself.
Do you want tea or coffee, Mr. Gargery?
Oh, thank you, sir. I will take whichever is most agreeable to yourself.
What do you say to coffee?
Thank you, sir. Seeing as though you make choice of coffee, I will not run contrary to your own opinions. Don't you ever find it a little eating?
Say tea, then.
Thank you, sir.
When did you come to town, Mr. Gargery?
Were it yesterday afternoon? Oh, no, it were not. Oh, yes, it were. Yes, it were yesterday afternoon.
Sake!
Well, I must away, duty calls and all that. The city waits for no man. Pick, Mr. Gargery.
Us two being now alone, sir.
Joe, how can you call me sir?
Us two being now alone, I must conclude, leastways begin, to what have led to my having had the present honour. Miss Havisham, sir, she wished to see you.
Miss Havisham, Joe?
Miss A.
Miss A, Joe? Miss Havisham?
Well, as I say, Miss A or otherwise Havisham. Anyway, she says to me, Mr. Gargery, are you in correspondence with Pip? And having had a letter from you, Pip, I said, I am. And when I married your sister, Pip, I said, I will. So I was able to say to your friend, I am. Anyways, she said to me, tell Mr. Pip, she said, that young Mrs. Stella is home and she would like to see him.
But you're not going now, Joe.
So I am.
But you're coming back for dinner, Joe.
No, I'm not. Pip. We are not two figures to be seen together in London. I'm wrong out of the forge. You wouldn't find half as much fault in me if you saw me with my forge dress on and my hammer in my hand. I'm awful dull, but I hope that I have done something nigh in the rights at this night at last. So God bless you, Pip. God bless you.
Miss Stella?
Joe!
me that I must repair to my hometown next day. It was equally clear that I must stay at Joe's. But as time passed on, I began to invent reasons and excuses for putting up at the Blue Boar.
Oh, we weren't expecting you, Pip.
Why, your bed's not ready, Pip.
I can clear out them pigs.
Miss Amersham, but she lives miles away, Pip. Wouldn't it have been more convenient for you to stay in the Blue Boar?
Oh, Miss Action won't be happy to see you at her, Pip.
All other swindlers on earth are nothing to the self-swindlers. And with such pretences did I cheat myself.
Well, Pip. How do you do, Pip? Kiss my hand as if I were a queen. Well,
Miss Havisham, I heard that you were so kind as to wish me to come and see you, and I came directly.
do you find her much changed, Pip?
Estella.
And is he changed?
Very much.
Less coarse and common?
I must have been a singular little creature to hide and see that fight that day. But I did, and I enjoyed it very much.
You rewarded me very much.
Did I? I remember I entertained a great objection to your adversary because I took it ill that he should be brought here to pester me with his company.
Ah, he and I are great friends now.
Are you?
Yes.
Since your change of fortune and prospects, you have changed your companions.
Naturally.
And necessarily, what was fit company for you once would be quite unfit company for you now.
I doubt very much whether I had any lingering intention left of going to see Joe. But if I had, that observation put it to flight.
You had no idea of your impending good fortune in those times?
Not the least. But, Estella, I remember when you made me cry.
Did I?
You do not remember that you made me cry?
No.
I verily believe that her not remembering and not minding in the least made me cry again, inwardly. And that is the sharpest crying of all.
You must know that I have no heart. If that has anything to do with my memory. Oh, I have a heart to be stabbed in or shot in. I have no doubt, and of course, if it ceased to beat, I should cease to be. But you know what I mean. I have no softness there, no sympathy, sentiment, nonsense. I'm serious. If we are to be thrown much together, you had better believe it at once. No, I have not bestowed my tenderness anywhere. I have never had any such thing. What is the matter? Are you sad again?
I should be if I believed what you said just now.
Then you don't? Very well. It is said at any rate. Let us make one more round of the garden and then go in. Come. You shall not shed tears for my cruelty today. You shall be my page and give me your shoulder.
Love her. How does she use you, Pip? Love her. Love her. Love her. If she favours you, love her. If she wounds you, love her. If she tears your heart to pieces, and as it grows older and stronger, will tear deeper, love her. Hear me, Pip. I adopted her to be loved. I bred and educated her to be loved. I made her into what she is, that she might be loved. Love her. I'll tell you what real love is. It is blind devotion, unquestioning self-humiliation, utter submission, trust and belief against yourself and against the whole world, giving your whole heart and soul to the smiter as I did.
I love her. I love her. I love her. Ah, me, I thought those were high and great emotions. But I never thought there was anything low or small in my keeping away from Jo, because I knew that she would be contemptuous of him. It was but a day gone, and the thought of Jo brought the tears to my eyes. They soon dried, though. God forgive me, soon dried. Herbert, I love and I adore Estella.
Exactly. Well?
Well, Herbert, is that all you can say? Well?
What next? I mean, of course I know that.
How do you know it?
How do I know it, Handel? Why, from you.
But I never told you.
Told me? You've never told me when you've got your hair cut, but I had the senses to perceive it. You've always adored her ever since I've known her. You brought your adoration and your portmanteau here, together. Told me? Why, you've told me all day long. Now, Handel, I'm quite free from the flavour of sour grapes, so upon my soul and honour, not being bound to her, can you not detach yourself from her?
That's the question.
Yes, but my dear Handel, it's having been so strongly rooted in the breast of a boy whom nature and circumstances made so romantic, renders it very serious. Think of her bringing up and think of Miss Havisham. Think of what she is herself.
I know it, Herbert, but I can't help it.
You can't try, Handel.
Impossible.
Ah.
I am to come to London the day after tomorrow by the midday coach. I believe it was settled that you should meet me. In any case, Miss Havisham has that impression, and I write in obedience to her, yours, Estella.
I am going to Richmond. The distance is 10 miles. I am to have a carriage, and you are to take me. This is my purse. And you are to pay my charges for it. Oh, you must take the purse. We have no choice, you and I, but to obey our instructions. We are not free to follow our own devices, you and I.
The carriage will have to be sent for, Estella. Will you rest here?
Yes. I am to rest here a little, and I am to drink some tea, and you are to take care of me the while.
Where do you go to at Richmond?
I'm going to live at great expense with a lady there who has the power, or says she has, of taking me about and introducing me and showing people to me and showing me to people.
I suppose you will be glad of variety and admiration.
Yes, I suppose so. How do you thrive in Mr. Pocket?
Oh, I live quite pleasantly there. At least, as pleasantly as I could live anywhere, away from you.
You silly boy, how can you talk such nonsense? Now, you are to take care that I have some tea, and you are to take me to Richmond. You may come to see me sometimes. You are to come when you think proper.
I wonder Miss Havisham could part with you again so soon.
It is a part of Miss Havisham's plan for me, Pip. I am to write to her constantly and see her regularly, and report how I go on, I and the jewels, for they are nearly all mine now.
It was the first time she had ever called me by my name. Of course, she did so purposely, and knew I would treasure it up. We came to Richmond all too soon.
Good night, Pip.
I stood looking at the house, thinking how happy I would be if I lived there with her, and knowing that I never was happy with her, but always miserable. I began to contract a quantity of debt. I could hardly begin, but...
Herbert must begin too. We put ourselves down for election into a club called the Finches of the Grove.
Hey! The object of which institution I have never divined, but that its members members should dine expensively once a fortnight.
Quarrel among themselves as much as possible after dinner.
And cause 6 waiters to get drunk on the stairs.
Gentlemen, may the present promotion of good feeling ever reign predominant among the finches of the grove.
Gentlemen, the finches spent their money foolishly.
But Herbert and I were no ordinary finches.
We were foolish finches.
We spent as much money as we possibly could and got as little for it as people could make up their minds to give us.
There was a gay fiction among us that we were constantly enjoying ourselves, and a skeleton truth that we never did.
My dear Herbert, we're getting on badly.
My dear Handel, if you will believe me, those very words were on my lips by a strange coincidence.
Then, Herbert, let us look into our affairs. We always derive profound satisfaction from making an appointment for this purpose. I always thought this was business. This was the way to confront the thing. This was the way to take the foe by the throat. And I know Herbert thought so too.
I did. We always ordered something rather special for dinner, with a bottle of something similarly out of the common way, in order that our minds might be fortified for the occasion, and we might come well up to the mark.
Memorandum of Pip's debts.
Memorandum of Herbert's debts.
Case of claret. Brace of grouse.
2, 3,
5, 6 of the theatre.
5. They are mounting up, Handel. Upon my life, they are mounting up.
Be firm, Herbert. Be firm. Look the thing in the face. Look into your affairs. Stare them out of countenance.
So I would, Handel, only they are staring me out of countenance.
Then Herbert, estimate. Estimate it in round numbers and just put it down. And always leave a margin for, you know what.
Oh, what a fellow of resource you are. Really, your business powers are very remarkable.
My sister's dead.
Well, Pip, I must call you Mr. Pip today. Congratulations, Mr. Pip.
Thank you, sir.
Now, I am going to have a word or two with you.
If you please, sir.
What do you suppose you are living at the rate of?
At the rate of?
At the rate of?
I'm not sure, sir, that I am able to answer that question.
Ah, I thought you might say that. Now, I have asked you a question. Have you anything to ask me?
Is my benefactor to be made known to me today, sir?
No. Ask another.
Is that confidence to be imparted to me soon?
Wait that a moment and ask another.
Have I anything to receive?
Ah, I thought we might come to this. Now, take this piece of paper in your hand. Have you got it? Very good. Now, unfold it and tell me what it is.
This is a banknote for £500.
And you consider it, no doubt, a handsome sum of money. Now, that handsome sum of money, Pip, is your own. It is a present to you on this, your coming of age, in earnest of your expectations, and at the rate of that handsome sum of money per annum, and at no higher rate, are you to live until the donor of the whole appears. That is to say, you will now take your money affairs entirely into your own hands. You will draw from Warwick £125 per quarter until you are in communication with the fountainhead and no longer with the mere agent. As I said before, I am the mere agent. I execute my instructions and I am paid for so doing. I think them injudicious, but I am not paid for giving any opinion on their merits.
Gosh, sir, please extend
I am not paid to Pip to carry your words to anyone. Good day.
Mr. Warwick, I want to ask your opinion on something. I am very desirous to serve a friend. This friend wants to get on in commercial life, but has no money, and finds it difficult and disheartening to make a beginning. Now, I want somehow to help him to a beginning.
With money down?
With some money down, and perhaps some anticipation of my expectations.
Now, Mr. Pip, I'd just like to run over with you, on my fingers, if you please, the names of the various bridges up as high as Chelsea Bridge. Now, let's see. There's London, 1, Southwark, 2, Blackfriars, 3, Waterloo, 4, Westminster, 5, Vauxhall, 6. There's as many as 6 you see to choose from.
I don't understand you.
Choose your bridge, Mr. Pip. Take a walk upon your bridge and pitch your money into the Thames over the centre arch of your bridge. And you know the end of it. Serve a friend with it. You may know the end of it too, but it's a less pleasant and profitable end.
And that is your deliberate opinion, Mr. Warwick?
That is my deliberate opinion in this office.
Ah, but would that be your opinion at Warwick?
Warwick is one place. This office is another, much as the aged is one person and Mr. Jaggers is another. Oh, they must not be confounded together, sir.
Very well then, I shall look you up at Warwick. You may depend on it.
My son, sir, was not born to the law, but to wine coopering. That it is at the law that he has made his mark.
Indeed, sir.
Like a dog.
And what do you take to Mr. Jaggers? Oh, Mr. Jaggers.
No, thank you. I myself was born to warehousing, but I had to give it up, for I have a slight infirmity. I'm deaf.
No.
Yes!
And now, Mr. Warwick, about this matter I referred to in the city. I wish to help my friend Herbert, to whom I owe so much, and who I can't help but think might have done better without me and my expectations. I wish my own good fortune to reflect some rays upon him, and in this I seek your help.
You know, Mr. Pip, this is devilish good of you. I shall put my considering cap on.
Excellent, excellent. Good night, Mr. Warwick, the aged.
Doodle Pip!
My dear Pip, I have some extraordinary and wonderful news. I am to be taken on by a merchant, Clarica by name. I met him quite by chance, it would seem, and he has shown a real inclination towards me. My opening has come at last. I'm sure of it.
I cried that night, if only to think that my expectations had done some good to somebody.